very informative, and I think it gives people an opportunity to read and learn about changes in our history. And there's so much history in California that I think people from the East Coast don't realize, is that there are California Indians with a very rich history of language and stories, and it's not just plains dancing, it's not just the Iroquois Nation, and there is California tribes, over 500 tribes here, many dialects, many different walks of life, ranging from the top of California to the southern, and we can even go as far as talking about the Mexico area and how that was part of this area, and so I mean it's been very good for me to learn about the museum and learning these things from his daughter Nikki, and I'm constantly learning and enjoy these times that we get to learn.
That's wonderful. And so other than exhibits, you have an education center there. And is this directly involving youth activities, or is there partnerships within the university systems around there, or for internships and so forth?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. There is that opportunity for folks, and I really want to encourage not only universities, but maybe the high school grade level. They're at the age now where they have to start looking at college, and most colleges require some type of internship. And I encourage all children, if you're choosing a career in history or biology or archaeology, languages, sociology, all those things, that to get involved in a museum and learn about internship and how those things can help you get to your career goals. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, is that part of telling the story really comes from being Native and being proud of being that. And when it comes from a Native perspective, I think children identify that a little bit more than they would from somebody else who maybe didn't walk that life.
Yeah, so the ability to be able to hear our story coming from us versus it being, just history.
Right. So, yeah, they do offer internships to answer that question. And it's, again, I just encourage, kids to really look into that career of not only those wonderful history classes, but also to law. We need kids who really want to learn about how to protect native lands, how to protect languages, and those types of things. So, yes, it's definitely a good place to learn.
Speaking of native law, I mean, that's one of my passions, is knowing that I think as Native people, it's just come to the point that I think that we all need to be really knowledgeable about the laws that guide that have to do with our sacred sites. I mean, there's so many laws that, as Native people, that we need to know to be able to protect the things that belong to us, our material culture. Talking about NAGPRA and the SB 18 and just CEQA laws, protecting our oceans and lands.
Yes.
Also in California, there is a big Renaissance movement as far as language is concerned. So what type of things are you doing within the museum for language preservation?
Well, I believe that there's a lot of languages in California that are different. And, we can say that dialects come from different, for example, I'm from the Chumash tribe, and there are quite a few dialects. It's not just one, as most think. And although we're very close, like, for example, Santa Barbara is to San Ynez, there's a whole different language there. The museum does bring about languages as far as bringing in conferences and bringing in educated individuals to talk about those topics, because again, it's about the rebirth of languages in California, is even more so now than it was 15, 20 years ago. And it's an important aspect as far as identity goes. Right. Studies that have been shown that children who do know their languages will do better in school. And so it is an important aspect that the museum does care about.
That's really wonderful. With my children, they've been brought up to learn Chumash language. We're Santa Barbara, and the Barbareño dialect. And it's just, I think it's really wonderful. Now it's getting to the point where people are starting to be able to have conversations, where not too long ago it wasn't like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. So, especially with the education within that community, has the museum had an impact in the community as far as local public schools and so forth, and really educating to the actual history of California versus what they were normally taught in the school system?
Well, I think in getting back to the goal and the purpose of California Indian Museum and Culture Center is the fact that it's not just within the Santa Rosa region. Mm-hmm. It's more for outreach into all throughout California, the northern and the southern, through creating those, let's talk about technology and what it has to bring to our classrooms and colleges, and we're looking into bringing those types of things into the schools. So it is not just going to be centered just in Santa Rosa, and so how the impact is, we're really trying to really focus in and bringing about the education of the California Indian in that area, and I think it's going in the right direction.
And as far as material culture within the exhibits, is there a community that you're working with in, like, say, the basketry and other material cultures?
Yes, there's many. In fact, we just recently had an exhibit there at the museum, which was the Cradle Board, and the Cradle Board exhibit. And it featured many different types of materials that were used in California from different tribes, mm-hmm. and there were different styles and different basket makers. It's just a time to educate people about those things that are so important, and people are again getting involved in making baskets, cradle boards, and things like that.
And you being a dancer, can you talk about some of the activities that has happened with the museum as far as bringing the dance to the community? Yeah,
we're really looking to bringing those types of things to our museum. If you look on the website, they also plug into different communities of where you might be able to go see, for example, Pomo, mm-hmm. or be able to go see the Yurok. Some dances are still considered sacred and ceremonial, right. So it's not like, for example, if you would go to a powwow and you would see certain dances. Again, many of the California tribes had their special and unique dances only brought out during the certain times of the year, and so one of the things that I used to do as a young girl with my family was being out there and educating people about the fact that there are still dancers out there. Maybe for some time we were hidden, and my grandmother, who ran away from boarding school many, many years, wasn't able to talk in her language, or was she able to share her dances or her medicinal medicines. So to bring it all back and to let the people know that there are Chumash, it's okay to say that you can dance and you can sing. And the museum is one of the places that they are outreaching to bring that information.
And I think there's been a really an emergence amongst Native people is during this generation now. So many changes have happened.